I didn't mean to hit that link. I did. Did I mean to hit that link just yet? Lord, I do not seek to claim the glory. No, let me see. Lord, I do not seek to claim the glory. I only wish to be under your control. For I know that you alone are worthy, and it's you who place this longing in my soul. See y'all. My soul desires to be used. An empty vessel longing to be filled by you. My sole desire is to serve you, Lord, to do your perfect will, to work each day and build, to see your kingdom coming down. That is my sole desire. My sole desire is to be used. My mind is God's mind. I'm always reflecting divine wisdom and divine intelligence. When I step outside of myself, Lord, and I get all besides myself wanting to utilize this flesh with my own words, put me in check, God. My mind is God's mind. I'm always reflecting divine wisdom and divine intelligence. My brain symbolizes the capacity to think wisely and spiritually. God's ideas unfold within my mind in perfect sequence. I'm always poised, balanced, serene, and calm, knowing that God will provide the perfect solution to all my needs. When I wanted to take and come over here and talk about Stepford whore wives, God said, nope, you can't do it like that. You have a sword. I gave you a sword. Now, if you feel like telling a story, you tell it with the sword I gave you. Don't you go talk about stepfords. They will have their way with Tom Ford and them and Gog and Magog them if they don't change their ways. I got another way for you to do it. King Alice. King Alice, you know what I noticed about, are you ex-military? Are you a veteran? You know, the veterans are the aboriginals. The veterans are the ones that work so hard for this land and want all that is meant for them. And they will do anything to stop civilians from taking away from their veteran affairs. Anytime a civilian comes into the midst of military have a way. They have a way with words. And they will call you a dog. You wouldn't even know they're talking about you. They start talking amongst themselves with their dog tags. I know because my father was military. I know because most of his friends were militaries. Mr. Joe, Mr. Jeff. They all hung around, and I was my stepfather. I was the daddy's girl. So I was always hanging around daddy and listening to the lingo and how they talked and all. Cold talk. My father cold talked all the way to be making his coffee in the morning. When he wanted his coffee a particular color, he'll name every lady in the neighborhood. I knew how to get his coffee to the color of Miss Mary. I knew how to get his coffee the color of Miss Sandra. Even some of the grandmas, he'd say, Miss Ludy, get the color, I want my coffee the color of Miss Ludy. That means it didn't have no creamer. Uh, when we played golf with Mr. Pigford, yes, Mr. Pigford, he would take me to the range. Mr. Pigford was an ex-Marine. Our neighbors, the Rosses, she was a school teacher, and Mr. Ross. We lived in the projects. We grew up in the projects. But everybody around us was military, ex-military, and all that. Now, Mr. Butch, he was a post-traumatic stress disorder, but they was military, and his daughters and family became school teachers and stuff. Mr. Clifford, them, they was ex-military. Mr. Burt, them, they was ex-military. Everybody in our projects was ex-military. So anyways, the veterans in the community, if they got somebody coming on the, that they don't like too much, you'll hear them start talking about their cats and their dogs, especially their dogs. Now, you know the story of Jesus when it came towards the end, when Jesus knew, okay, I'm armored up and I'm ready and I'm on a mission. They start coming at Jesus all kind of ways. And the thing is, Jesus there was no more holding his tongue. He was slick mouth and kept on and kept on and kept on until they couldn't take it no more. Say, we're going to try to trap you up with your words. Well, I just experienced that, again. I just came from dealing with military minds trying to make me be quiet on this side of the bench with the job opportunity that they gave me, thinking that I was going to bow down and be quiet. Hey, look, you can be a servant for the Department of Defense. Huh? We'll pay you more than you was making as a truck driver. That's not what I applied for. No, you fit this job right here. And the first thing before I signed off on the contract, with the day I hire, the first thing they put there is what you do on social media could affect your job. Huh? Now I know you are signing a contract. I guess they thought that was gonna make me be quiet. So I just finished dealing with that. And now I can't even go over to London McLondon in peace. Soon as the consorts, I guess they text her and let her know, driving illegally, that I was over there. And she gonna come on and start with her dog talking. Hey there, Latrell Tinwell. And so I said, I can't wait till I could go live and talk about these Stepford wife consorts. And she tag teaming with Pamela. They tag teaming, going back and forth, throwing off. That's what the Bahamians call it, throwing off. They throwing off. So when I came over here, God said, no, you're not going to do it like that. You ain't for the dog. Stepford wives, you can address it. Huh? But you ain't for to talk about it like this. I got a scripture for you. So here we go. Huh? Here we go. Ezekiel's wheel. Big wheels keep on turning. Huh? Them two sisters over there. Huh? They proud. I don't know what branch of military they used to be in, but I know they vets. How they must have came and got in there young, because both of them sound young. They don't have respect for their elders. They must have joined the Marines or Army or Navy or whatever they is, veterans right out of high school. Or they must have married a military man when they was young. Gots to be. Ezekiel. Rolling. The Lord's message came to me again. God said, you going to use this sword. That's the only way you could address people nowadays. With the word. You do it any other way. Son of dust. I'm speaking to London. Son of dust. There are two sisters who as young girls became prostitutes in Egypt. You know, Egypt is a state of mind. What you understand about or comprehend about Egypt? What I know from the study of history, Egypt was a military base. Egypt went in and conquered lands and tribes and would take the loot and take it back to Egypt. Storehouses. The pyramids were storehouses. Military mind. That's why when Moses came out of Egypt, they was able to do the stuff they did because he was military raised. He was raised in the military. Egypt is a state of mind. And I know Dr. York wasn't going to leave us in Egypt. I just know it. I know he wasn't. I know he wasn't. I don't think anybody else think that, but I know he wasn't. But I say to you, son of dust, there are two sisters who, as young girls, became prostitutes in Egypt. Somehow, some way, they got in the military. They're military involved. The older girl name was Ohola. This beats Stepford Wives any day. Ohola. And her sister name was Oholaba. Both of them was Ohos. This in the Bible. They for real. I said, God, show me. I can't go nowhere in peace. I was enjoying my grandchildren, and they was only gonna be here for a little while. And I saw that London was live. I said, well, since London live, let me just go on over there because I know at the very first part of his stuff, it'd be kind of clean. And so I'm comforting my grandson, playing with my grandson. My granddaughter didn't make it over. She was still where she was. And all I can hear them is their military code. And they got the nerve to ask London, does he have animals besides the animals in the chat? After they finished doing their dog tagging back and forth, tag teaming. The older girl name was Ohola. As you see, I put on the big glasses for this and still can't see straight. And her sister name was Oholaba. I'm speaking of Samaria and Jerusalem. I married them and they bore sons and daughters, but her neighbors, then Ohola turned to other gods instead of me and gave her love to Assyrians and her neighbors, for they were all attractive young men, captains and commanders, and handsome blues. See, I told you. I told you this would be better than Stepford Wives. So one of the old holas over there at London McLovin who talking about all the dogs and cats they got, huh? They had all type of attractive young men. They had captains, commanders, and handsome blue dashing about on their horses. And so she sinned with them the choicest men's of Assyrians, worshiping their idols, defiling herself, calling herself degrading women and people as they come in the chat like they doing something big and mighty to get approval and cupcakes from their choices of men, handsome blues, dashing about on their horses. For when she left Egypt, she did not leave her spirit of prostitution behind. They are veterans. They call themselves vets because they think they're doing something for humane societies, when all they doing is worshiping Gog and Magog. For when she left Egypt, she did not leave her spirit of prostitution behind, but was still as lewd as her youth. When the Egyptians poured out their lust upon her and robbed her of her virginity. They make women get in the military thinking that doing something proud and good. The same we will kill mentality doesn't get left behind. We will shoot upon command if there's a war, doesn't get left behind. All that they go through in battery and basic training doesn't get left behind. The hatred that it takes to pull the trigger does not get left behind if they don't get healed from it. So they bring that into the communities in their veteran status where they get paid for research and development. That's enough. I don't want to go no further. That was just enough. If they want to know more about how to not be whores, of the military, there's healing. There's healing for the military wives too, for the military consorts and the vets who have been traumatized to think that it's okay to be separatist. I don't no longer work for the military, but I still take their money though. Anyways, Ohola, Oho, and Ohola Leba. Don't try me next time I come over there. You better learn to respect your elders. All right. Now I'm going to get back to where I was earlier. Continue my research on what I was talking about earlier with the corals. Okay, I was on the corals. King Ellis and Latrell Tinwell. Look, they going in on Florida right now. And they using the environment like as above, so below for their codes. They code it up. Military always code it up. Right? So earlier, Latrell, you would have to go to the video earlier to catch up if you wanted to, but it ain't hard for you to catch up. Now, as a matter of fact, you might already know about it before I even continue on with the presentation. So those who were with me earlier in the chat, I gave them a choice. I was like, well, let's go. If we want to go talk about omniscience and divine foreknowledge, which is this. Let me share the screen. This encyclopedia, because I was referring to and referencing to where I access the affirmation that I say on a daily basis and how long I've been saying that. I've been saying it in my mind since 2009 when I was in that program, Agape Ministries. But I decided a few months ago to start saying it out loud because it aligns with the way God is ordering my steps. And so as I was looking for it today, because I heard somebody they may not have been talking Red Squid X. He may not have been talking to me or about me or in reference to me. But sometimes when we say things and recite things, people think they know where it came from, or they're assuming where it came from because who we're associated with. It's like known by association. So my mind is God's mind. I'm always reflecting divine wisdom and divine intelligence. My brain symbolizes the capacity to think wisely and spiritually. God's ideas unfold within my mind in perfect sequence. Someone can misinterpret and think that I received that when I came into Mut'Awuhu, and I didn't. I started reciting this. I didn't know that Mut'Awuhu even existed. I didn't know that Dr. Malachi Z. York even existed. I had never heard of Mut'Awuhu. But if you listen to the affirmation, it also aligns right into the teachings. So that's how I got to this omniscience and divine foreknowledge build earlier, because I wanted to show and express, and I was looking for where did Dr. Sandra Bowman get that affirmation from that they made us, they drilled in us in their basic training program. Mayor Giuliani and all of them that would come and meet, and the mayors of Florida at the time, Suarez and all them, they would sit and watch us. We would have to perform for them. I'm not joking. I'm not making it up. In order to keep getting funds, because the head stakeholders in that program, through Harvard, through MDRI, through WellPath, through some of the greatest fundings for research and development, came right out of that program, the heads of that program. So Dr. Sandra Bowman, that was one of the affirmations that she had implemented in that spiritually based program, where it was Bible study 3 or 4 times a day. Before we ate, as we grouped together, as we spoke together, if we ate a piece of cake together, if we did testimony service, if we had a AA meeting, we would recite that. They had us recite that, but at the same time, they also had their the University of Miami interns coming in and practicing their hypnosis. So again, I was looking for where Dr. Sandra Bowman got that, and that's how I came into deciding that maybe I would build on omniscience and divine foreknowledge. But I changed my mind because no one gave their input. I said, do you want me to build on this, or would you like me to build on the endangered species final rule that they got going on? And this is what I decided to do. This right here. So now I'm continuing on this build right here. So the critical habitat for the Caribbean boulder star coral. Oh, goodness. Okay. So this first word, this is a continuation from earlier. The boulder star coral. The term Boulder Star refers to a specific landmark in Boulder, Colorado, known as the Flagstaff Star. It's a large illuminated star installed on the Flagstaff Mountain and has been a holiday tradition since 1947. There's that year again. Since 1947. The Boulder part of the name comes from the city of Boulder, where the star is located. As for the etymology of the word boulder, it dates back to 1610s and described as a water-worn, rounded stone of medium or large size, a water stone. Its variant in Middle English, boulder stone, which comes from Scandinavia's source of Aken to Swedish, dialectal Burleston, meaning noisy stone, a large stone in a stream, causing water to roar around it. A bullera, to roar. So that's the breakdown, the first breakdown of Boulder from the Caribbeans. To roar, lion roar. Right here, this whole thing is a code of them asking for forgiveness. Watch me now. Watch me. Watch. So then Boulder also, the star in Boulder has its roots from stir. Remember, we were at the aster, the Florida aster, the Florida golden aster, a star, which means star. Stir means star. And it is used originally for the celestial bodies that appear in the sky. The Boulder star has become more than just a holiday symbol, but a beacon. Now, do you know that this same scripture right here that I'm showing you from the Federal Register is referring to, or in referencing, not just to the Caribbeans and the corals and the history of the Caribbeans or the Caribbeans, and not just to what's going on in the sky on a apocalyptic series, but also in reference to the eclipse. No? Yes, it is. This right here is referencing to the eclipse. How many stars they got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There go to asterisks. There go to asterisk. You see the asterisk? If I click on the stars, why is the asterisk here? Huh? Aster, which is star, risk. Risk is on the way. Documenting draft handbook. 5 stars are used to show the whole paragraph. Yeah, 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 including its subordinate paragraphs. Yeah, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Boulder star. So let me go to the next word here. The orbi. We know so much what an orb is, right? But what is orba cella franci? Huh? Now they being very shady about this franci word right here. When I saw franci, the first thing came to my mind is frankincense and myrrh. But then wouldn't it be more relevant to the same Frank C. Martin? The same Martin that has jurisdiction over the Treasure Coast and over the Bahamas and took all these different research and development and splicing and civil engineering all over Florida? No, because they being very shady about that Frank C word right there. I could have came up with all kind of things. Frankenstein, frankincense and myrrh. Huh? But let me go ahead and give you what else and how much more breakdown I did. Now, mind you, this just came out today. A final rule today. This is not a proposed rule. It's a final rule. The word orbi or orbi seems to be related to the Latin word orbis, which means circle. We know that. Or disc, ring, hoop, orbit. The term orb in English, which comes from the Latin word orbis, has been used since the mid 15th century to denote a sphere or something spherical. Now, remember, I told you when they released those tones and frequencies during the eclipse, they already said they don't need the curvature of the earth to reconstruct their infrastructure and their grids. Now, when I was on Google Earth yesterday, Google Earth looked like a cake, like it's a cylinder cut in half. So if you go to my video yesterday, when I went all the way back, it looked like a cylinder, which is going to bring you right here. The shape of the earth has now turned into a cylinder, but a cylinder shaped like a cake. This is the version and the shape of earth that they're about to do. And I proved that on my live yesterday. I didn't know that this wasn't up here yesterday. This final rule wasn't here. This final rule just came out today. Today is the what? What's today's date? The 19th. I didn't look at this final rule yesterday because anytime I'm going to come and share and look at a final rule or whatever, I go over it with y'all firsthand, freestyling. As a matter of fact, I could go over my own video and show you where yesterday. Let me do that. Come on, don't go slow, Google. Show you where I mentioned, don't the earth look like a cylinder here? And how I found that phallus and two balls on Castle Island. uh, oh, look at it. Want to go real slow. Trying to get your search started. That's what it say. I'm not sharing that part of the screen right now. Just give me a minute. Come on now. Okay, let's see. I just want to get to that video yesterday. That was 4 hours ago. Boy, I've been going in. I must say so myself. They messed up giving me all the free time. Didn't they? Oh boy. Let me go ahead and share the screen. Let me share the screen. Mine's greater light. Let me share this screen right quick. First, before I get back to the orb, where's that video from yesterday? It should be this one. It should be this one. Let me share this tab. Just where I say the Earth on Google Earth looked like a cake. Let's see. Come on now. Quill name. Come on. There we go. There we go. Keep going. Keep going. There go that. Wait, what was that on that flag? Keep going. When I get to the Earth. Hold up. Don't go too fast. Okay, right around here. When I start researching Selena, and then I found that castle. Oh, I mean that, what you call it, on Castle Island. I went back. Wait, come on, come on. Don't go too fast. I need to rush right through. I just want to get to that shape of the Earth and how that bill right there in Federal Register, they talking about the shape of the Earth is a cylinder. Right there is where I found, that was where I first found yesterday for the first time. This Castle Island. See? So what is this out here on Castle Island? Are they castles? It looked like it's a fallen, that one lit up in lighthouse right there. But then it looked like a phallus, don't it? Okay. That face looked like the man face on Mars right there. That looked like an old pyramid, and that looked like a fallen. I mean, it could be a couple of things. I didn't say that yesterday. But when I went over and watched Aboriginal Power, I need some good scientific eyes to tell me what this looked like they got going on over here on Castle Island. I knew I was going to find something talking about Selena. When they got whole people. Okay, wait a minute now. Let me get to the Earth looking like a cylinder. Because I decided to pull on back from Earth. Keep pulling back. Kept going back. Right here. It looked like, see, that's the shape it looked like to me right now. Like a cake. See? Don't it look like a cake? Or they gonna let me turn it? Nah, they pulled out. See, it's showing that shadow. And it's letting me turn it. But if I'm turning it on this side of the planet where it's dark at, it should still be dark when I turn it, ain't it? It looked like it's showing the Earth like the shape of a cake. What? Ain't no land on the other side of the Earth. No, not one piece of land on the other side of the Earth. Remember when you could look around the globe and at least you'll see some land? There's no land. See right there? Wait a minute. From here, nothing. Nothing. How did they get so far apart? All right, I'm gonna close out. I'm not gonna go over the rest of this right here. All right. So now, why am I talking about cylinders? Let me go back here. Let me get back down to the nitty gritty, back to the corals, in this coded message that they have here. So I done covered the star, the boulder star, right? Let me continue. So the root orbis is thought of to be connected to the concept of turning or revolving, which is reflected in the related term orbit, indicating the path of a celestial body. The specific term orbi could be a variant or derivative of these roots, possibly used to describe something that is circular or spherical in nature or related to orbits in astronomy. However, without additional context, it's difficult to provide more precise definition of the etymology of orbi, right? If you have specific context, which orbi is used, I'll try to provide more details. Yeah, no, I'm fine. I can look through my orbits and my orbital through the orbs in my head and my skull and know you beating around the bush too. So I said, okay, well then let's talk about the cella or the cella in the orbi, in the word right here, next to the boulder star. So the term cella or cella has its own origin in Latin, where it is referred to a small room in the upper room, where it referred to a small room or storeroom, the storehouse, or the hut, hut, and is related to the Latin verb celare, which means to hide or conceal. So they hiding something in the orbs of the Frank side? I don't know. Let's keep reading. I know that this didn't have to do with those corals. But hey, meaning to hide or conceal. This Latin root comes from the Proto-Indo-European root, which means to cover, conceal, or to save. The word cella was used in the earlier 12th century to denote small monastery or subordinate monasteries. Now remember, on Alvarian or Alvernia Mount, on the land of the cats, the Cat Island, where my grandmother's grandmother and my grandfather's grandfather, the Knowles and the Farringtons, on that same book in the Library of Congress that's sealed with the Solomon seal on it to bind our people. Alvernia Mount has a monastery on it, and that monastery is where Saint Francis, so that's where this Frank is, and I know it. Saint Francis supposedly stood on in some type of transfiguration, looping through time. Over the heads of our people. And that monastery is still there. All the different hurricanes, all the different storms. That monastery is still there, where he supposedly went into a trance because he saw Jesus there. while he was on that mountain in Bahamas, supposedly. And they took the story and stole the story. All the Roman people and the Catholics, the popes and stuff, they took the story and stored it into their storehouses over there in Italy and made it a story of when they created their new Alvernia Mount on the new earth over there. But that's neither here nor there. Let me continue. So the cella is the small monastery or subordinate monastery, and later came to mean a small room for a monk or a nun, monastic establishment, or hermit's dwelling, the hermitage that's on Alvernia Mount around the 1300s. That's the same one right there. But you don't have to believe me. I've been studying the history of my people through this flesh now. Remember, all this was here before I got here. But there's a reason why I came through and landed in this flesh. In English, the word cell, of course, we know the cell that binds, evolved from this origin and has been used since the mid 15th century to describe a sphere or something spherical. So the term cella, because most people's cells are spherical and round. As a matter of fact, shaped like a cylinder, but smushed down, huh? And then you have people like me that, yeah, I got a cylinder shaped cell, but I also have a sickle shaped cell. So the term cella in English can also refer to the inner chamber of a classical temple. What? All this out of this word orbicella? Where the cult statue would be placed, which is the direct borrowing from the Latin cella. The concept of cell is a basic structural unit in living organisms, was documented in 1665 by English scientist Robin Hooke. Now, y'all know on the Bahamian Islands, right there where the castle, what you call it is, the where I showed yesterday those three objects. Captain Hook's island or name is right there on that same Selena sandbar, not far from Castle Island. So scientist Robin Hooke, and they say he was a captain. They call him Captain Hook when he was just nothing but a scientist, huh? Splicing and dicing. Who observed the vegetal tissue of a cork and described its constitu constitution, formed in small boxes comparable to a honeycomb. So we have the honeycombs on earth by the bees, and then we have the honeycombs created in the ocean through the corals. But they wasn't just slicing and dicing and experimenting on the corals of the ocean. As they was comparing and doing the same as above with the stars and the same as below of the seas, they was looking at the people as the same as in all. So the biological sense of the word was further developed by biologist Thomas Huxley in 1851. That's after they did more and more digging and splicing and dicing. So like I said, the co-pilot was being very shady. I should have went over to Gemini. I still haven't dealt with Gemini yet. Very shady about Frank C. And he went all around the place. He said, look, the term Frank C does not appear to be a standard word with widely recognized etymology. It could be a misspelling, a variation of a surname, possibly derived from an ethnic name of the Franks, which, yeah, it could be that, but I'm pretty sure that has to do with that St. Francis or Frank C. Martin, or the Martin that continued to steal out of the pyramids from behind when they sunk the pyramids and all that over there on the islands, which wasn't an island at the time. And all of this could be proved in the Silver Engineering book about the Bahamas that I will continue to read later on. The name Frank itself believed to be an old Germanic word frankon, which means javelin or lance or preferred weapon. And he still couldn't give me any information about Frank C, right? And then, let me see, I asked again. I said, okay. I put in another Frank, and he gave me something about Frank Sinatra. And then I said, look, Frank C, period, meaning. And he said the term Frank C refers to the bolder star, Orbis Cella Franci, which specifies the coral found in the Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary. There go the Moors, the Marines stealing something. This coral is known for participating in mass spawning events, which are crucial for genetic mixing and dispersal of offspring over large distances. The name Frank C is a context and part of a scientific name typically honoring a person or sometimes derived from the Latin or Greek words that relates to the characteristics of the species. In the case of the Orbicella franci, it may be named after a person with the surname Frank or Franks. Okay, I could deal with that. So then I said, well, who is it honoring? And it couldn't give me nothing. But it did say honoring a marine biologist or benefactor or influential person in the field of marine science or conservation. Unfortunately, my search can't pull up what it means. So then I start going all in. I was like Frankenstein, and I know it ain't nothing to do with Frankenstein. So I skipped on through. I said, you know what? Because, when you get to Franken and all that, that's just modified, unnatural, not of earth meaning. Okay? So I get to annularis, which is the next word here, because I wanted to skip over the lobe. I know they have to do with wolves and a wolf star, but I skipped over that for a second. I wanted to go to its AKA meaning first. So the annularis comes from medieval Latin, annularis, which means pertaining to a ring. Now, y'all know the ring when the eclipse happens, pertaining to a ring, and is derived from annulus, a misspelled diminutive of the Latin word anus, meaning ring. The word annular in English meaning ring shape dates back to 1570s and comes from the same roots. The root word anus in Latin, which refers to a ring or circle, which has which is used since ancient times and is connected to the Proto-Indo-European root año, which also signifies ring. This etymology reflects the circular shape that a term annularis implies. So I skipped I'm going to go back to these later. The mountainous star, or the mountainous star, the lobe star, the pillar, and the rough cactus. So I came over the Faviolata. The Faviolata is derived from fabulous, meaning honeycomb, which is a diminutive of Phoebus or honeycomb. So that's that shape. Now y'all know the honeycomb, the shape that they have out there when they do this portalization opening with the eclipse. The James Webb is shaped like a honeycomb, if anybody remembers, or you could go type it in and look at it right now. When they send the signals and they align everything up for soul portalization, this is just opening up the doorway where they will be able to have access to your soul, and you will have to make a choice to give it to them or not to give it to them. And those who decide not to give it to them, you have the 5 months of protection from April to September, but know this will be the time to be preparing, because it's going to go to all the world in this generation. Everybody in the world is going to have a choice. They already have the children under the Hagu or the Hagu conventions and authority. They already have them where they'll be trademarked already. But I haven't looked at the ages. Is it going to be 18 and younger, 21 and under? I don't know. I didn't look that far into it. Then I went over here to Dendrog. You could go to the lion's den. Just the Gira and the den alone is like the lion's den. The term dendrog appears to be shortened form of dendro, a prefix derived from the word dendron, which means the tree. The prefix is commonly used in words related to trees, such as dendrology, the study of trees, and dendrochronology, the dating of events and environmental changes by the studying of tree rings. So you mean to tell me there's some type of tree in the ocean that they're studying? Or are they talking about the tree, the family lion, the core, the root of the Lion of Judah? Dendrog could be part of a larger term or a name of specific context. For example, it might be the character's name in a story or a game. Dendrog covetous. Dendrog the covetous, from a role-playing game set. So I left that alone and went to breaking down the den, the dro, and the gira. The gira or the gyra has several potential meanings. It may derive from the Old High German and Old Norse names God, meaning God, elements of God. The elements of God. In this word right here. The elements of God. Peace, tranquility, friendship. In the sense, Gita could mean God's peace or peaceful pledge. That's why I told you this is them trying to ask for forgiveness for what they about to do, all in code. The Philippine origins is different. The Philippine origins of Gita means faith. What does faith and God and peace and tranquility have to do with a pillar coral? Don't let me get to breaking down the coral just yet. In the Ukrainian origin, Gita may mean lion's cub. In Hebrew, Gita means gur, G-U-R, the lion's cub. So you mean to tell me the pillar in a dendrogyra cylindrus means God's peace and tranquility, faith of the lion's cub? I'm just going to stop right there. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to leave that alone for now. Give people something to think about. I'm going to definitely be writing these words out, not because it's anything to write and leave. I read to y'all earlier where writing is no longer necessary. Writing in a book to leave behind is no longer necessary. Not for my love and light codes. I had something folded here. Let me see. Is it something that I wanted to read out of here? No. I'll be back. I just kept this short. And here's a special go away. Here's a little go away present from earlier where I combined what I found in the phallus on Castle Island to a clip by Aboriginal them. Share this tab instead.
Big Mama Spirit is a ding-a-ling. Right, hey. Right, hey, say it ain't so, bro. My grandma ain't no motherfucking ding-a-ling, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? Big Mama Spirit is a ding-a-ling. Right, hey. Right, hey, say it ain't so, bro. My grandma ain't no motherfucking ding-a-ling, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? Big Mama Spirit is a ding-a-ling. Right, hey. Right, hey, say it ain't so, bro. My grandma ain't no motherfucking ding-a-ling, bro. What the?
Now, y'all could go for yourself to Castle Island. You could go look to Castle Island yourself. Just type in on Google Earth Castle Island, and you will see for yourself. That's where JonBenet Ramsey was killed in Boulder, Colorado. Oh, you should cover that then, huh? JonBenet will be one of those children that will be returned, huh, and be able to know that all tears was wiped away. Hmm? Greater light, greater a light. Again, for those who have eyes to see, I have a mind that is God's mind. I am always reflecting divine wisdom and divine intelligence. My brain symbolizes the capacity to think wisely and spiritually. God's ideas unfold within my mind in perfect sequence. I'm always poised, balanced, serene, and calm, knowing that God will provide the perfect solution to all my needs. I hate that. You know what? They need to come up with something where when you're on the other screen, you could be able to see the chat at the same time. Huh? Because if I would have seen that earlier, I would have kept on going. As a matter of fact, because I seen that mind's eyes interacting, and putting stuff in the chat. Now I want to go a little bit longer. Now I want to go a little bit longer. You might put something in there that's relevant to what I'm saying. Or maybe you will put something in there about me. You got questions? You got anything you want to address? Mind's eye? Anything you want to say and get off your chest? Mind's eye. Now is the time, Time is short and time is running out and running behind. And my platform is a place where people can get anything they want to get off their chest, if you need to. How's Huey P? With all y'all powers and ability, has anybody been able to get him out? Is he still incarcerated? Or he never was? Have y'all got up the funds? Has anyone sent him a lawyer? Does anyone know what's going on with Huey P? Since you part of the Huey P crew, I just felt like I'll ask you. You know, what's his name? Latrell Tidwell said he wasn't a part of the crew. He was just honorary. But you was there from the beginning. So I just felt like since you putting in the chat and you contributing, and I'm glad and happy that you are, that I would just ask you, with all y'all magical powers, is anyone heard from Huey P? Anyways, let me get over to that book and read. Now I feel like reading from my ancestors' book, where all these military minds and agents have contributed to the holding and binding of my people. Let's see. It's called the Library of Congress. My research might go on a few hours now. Let's see. Oh, no, not Wikipedia. I'm trying to go straight to the get to of Library of Congress, the real Library of Congress. And let's see, Old Bike Bahamas. old bite. And books printed, but nope, because that drags when I pull that one. When I do it like this, it goes a little bit faster. Let's see, said the blind man. Where did I leave off? Letter, public works. I need to start making sure I document with my last page. Okay, because I remember I said I wouldn't get no further in this book if I kept stopping. Well, that's how I found Castle Island yesterday and Selena. And seeing that there's going to be an earthquake in Cuba soon. Okay, this is where they was going to add railroads or take away railroads. Okay. Did you know they had railroads in Bahamas? So y'all know they had railroads that went from Florida to Bahamas. Matthew Town. Okay, yeah, I ended off with this et cetera, and explaining the ampersand, the ampersand sign, the ampersand symbol. That's where I ended off yesterday, right? Let's see. I'm pretty sure that's where I ended off. I got to document my ending off page. I came to the Bannerman. Okay, right here at Selena. I got stuck when I found Selena. Keeping the object in view, work the island, shipment, measurements, salt, drawbacks, plans, completing, knowing that. Okay, this should be about it right here. Okay. Most influential proprietors on the island perfectly agree in opinion with me and see nothing of commercial character in the undertaking I would propose. And you know what the word undertaking means? Does anyone know what the word undertaking means? Do you know what it is to be an undertaker? Do you know the United States dollar bill was based on undertakers? It's a bill of undertaking. Okay, at the north extremity of Matthew Town, there exists a small bay inland of which the dock might be constructed, sitting on the dock of the bay, where vessels drawing 8 feet of water could remain in perfect security. 8 feet beings, huh? And be loaded without the slightest risk and at very small cost of labor, as the rock is being excavated for the formation of the dock. I would advise that it be used for the commencement of a breakwater at the southwest point of the bay, a spot where such a work may be hereafter most advantageously completed. On the sides of this dock, I would suggest that the sheds for the warehousing of salt. Am I sharing this screen? On the sides of this dock, I would suggest that the sheds for the warehousing of salt, so much desired by the proprietors, be objected to when proposed to be built in front of the town, should be erected as the more convenient situation, being close to the place of embarkation. And for the transportation of the salt to these warehouses, I would propose a railroad and direct line from the pond, one end to pass through the salt houses and the other to branch off near the salt houses in large reservoirs. Oh goodness, why do they keep doing this? This happened yesterday. And for the transportation of the salt to these warehouses, I would propose a railroad in direct line from the pond, one end to pass through the salt houses and the others to branch off around the pond, as cultivation of Selena extended. See, that's not what I just saw. Proprietors be erected an embarkation and pass through the salt houses and others branch off around the pond and cultivation of Selena extended. Connected with this plan, I would recommend near the salt houses, large reservoirs should be made, partly excavated in the rock to receive rainwater, which might be collected in great quantities from the roofs, which should be built with this object and furnished with proper gutters for the purpose. If the water from these tanks were sold for a trifling sum, it would contribute essentially to the comfort of the inhabitants of the. So they were selling rainwater to receive rainwater, which may be collected in great quantities from the roof, which should be built with this object and furnished with proper gutters for the purpose. If the water from these tanks were sold for a trifling sum, it would contribute essentially to the comfort of the inhabitants. Mm-mm-mm. When they didn't need them to come in and teach them how to drink fresh water. They was doing that before they got there, right? And now they would have to buy rainwater all the way back then, huh? Civil engineering, town and neighborhood. And this supply of pure water will not only obviate the distress often felt by dry weather when the wells now trusted are empty, but would prevent disease, which sadly impure state of the water they are now compelled to use is so liable to produce. Of the works already in operation at the salt pond dams built to prevent the inundation of the fresh water require repair. The recent continued rains having swelled the water to the north of the dams to a height that has injured them and overflowed the adjacent keys. And if this is not remedied, great damage may hereafter result in cultivated pond below. I would recommend to obviate this danger that the dams be reconstructed and carried up 1 foot higher and continued over the keys. And to protect the portion of the Salina north of the present dams, now commencing to be purchased and bought under cultivation, I would advise that a new dam be made across Salina, halfway between Craig's Canal floodgates and the southern dams, So, see, when the land was connected, they had dams and they were building dams that flooded and separated the state of Bahamas before they named it Florida. Before long, another canal to the sea. Slaves did not come from Bahamas to the United States. They were bringing and running slaves from the United States into the Bahamas. This is written here in their history. That when they freed the slaves, a lot of the slave owners skipped town and got their slaves on boats and went to all the outskirt islands of the Bahamas and the Jamaicas and tried to start cotton planting and cotton fields and just take it over. That's here in this book right here. But before the lands got separated, when they had trains and roads going from one end of Jamaica, Bahamas, Florida, all one land, they had dams that got damaged. They took off the railroads that they flooded it out. The proof is right here. I would advise that a new dam be made across Salina, halfway between Craig's Canal floodgates and the southern dams. Before long, another canal to the sea will become necessary. And if it be constructed to the south side of the proposed northern dam, it could be made to fill a large space between the dams as a reservoir for pickle supply and pans around as they become enclosed. This canal, if properly constructed, might also be made to furnish pickle for the whole of the remaining uncultivated Salina. The road from Rocky Cay to the main road or East Avenue, which is set out but not commenced, is much called for. The ground on each side being oh goodness. Being under construction, under cultivation, and the proprietors without a road for the conveyance of their salt from the deposits. The roads generally require much repair. The East Avenue particularly should not be allowed to remain in its present unfinished state. A bridge is in course of construction from East Avenue, for which I have furnished a plan and specification at the request of Salt Pond commissioners made to me through the Crown Commissioner. Closely connected to the success of working in the salt pond is the subject of labor, the deficiency of which the Inagua obliges the proprietors to go to the great expense to procure laborers from Nassau and other places who remain in the islands only long enough to complete their agreements and having no inducement to settle. Inducement to settle, return to spend their earnings elsewhere a species of absenteeism very injurious to the interests of the island. I would humbly suggest that if a small grant of land, 1/4 of an acre or even less, were given to such as felt disposed to settle, it would give them a motive for remaining and a local interest for the future in their space and time, when the ponds are not worked, would be most usefully and profitably employed in cultivating the small plots of ground around their cottages. So what they're saying here is those who kept coming in from the United States to work in the Bahamas was always going back over, and they didn't want them to be going back over, especially the ones that were slaves, but who knew that they were free, but still worked for their slave masters. So what he did is he said, if we could get them to be staying over here, we have to fix up the spots to make them want to stay. Inhabitants of Matthewtown were very disroused to have a wharf near the center of the town for landing of passengers. And I would recommend the point between Jib Bay and Commissioner Bay as the best suited for the purpose, as it offers great natural facilities. A space leading to these points would be an excellent spot for a market house. I knew my grandma was telling the truth. I know my Aunt Gotti was telling the truth. Among the public works peculiarly needed on this island, I must not omit to mention a lighthouse or light staff upon the southeast point. Matthewtown is situated on the southwest shore, and the anchorage opposite being exposed, vessels cannot remain there during westerly gales. But most around the point I allude to obtain the shelter afforded on the southeast, where a reef extends, coral reefs, for some distance, and on which wrecks frequently occur. 2 vessels were running around on this spot about a month ago. A light on this point would answer the double purpose of security against this reef, and as I guide for those who might be compelled to shift their anchorage during darkness. I have received communications from the Crown Commissioner requesting my attention to the state of the prison, to the deficiency of water, and as to the best site for erection of a sundial. All this right here, none of this sound like civil engineering that they're doing again today. Let me reread at the point of light. A light on this point would answer the double purpose of security against this reef. Which reefs? These reefs. I have received communications from the Crown Commissioner requesting my attention to the state of the prison, to the deficiency of water and as to the best site for the erection of a sundial. In consequence, I have visited and inspected the prison, but find it so unfit in every way for its object. Not objects, its object, that I can only recommend that another be built of stone and in more suitable situation. The present building is without ventilation, no separate cells for female prisoners, and no security against escape for any. And being situated in the principal street, it has become quite a public nuisance. The only remedy for the deficiency of water that appears at present to be feasible is to construct a sufficient number of tanks and reservoirs for the preservation of rainwater in a pure state. And I would recommend that all the public buildings should have such attached to them to ensure good supply. And if all the possessors of houses would follow the example being now set by several of the principal residents of building tanks to receive the water from the roofs of their dwelling, to present distress, the present distress would be alleviated. I have before mentioned that the distance of the house or the horse pond wells from Matthewtown and necessarily impure state of water found there render them inadequate and unfit as a supply to be depended on. If they afford a sufficient quantity of pure water, pipes might be laid down to convey it to Matthewtown, but the expense would be considerable. The reservoirs in the town promise a more efficient dependence, but the horse pond should be cleansed and walled in, that the water may be preserved as pure as possible. The church requires only the internal fittings up, expected shortly to arrive from New York, to be made ready for divine service. The church requires only the internal fittings up, expected shortly to arrive from New York, to be made ready for divine service, which is at present performed in the schoolhouse. But the grounds belonging to both require enclosing. Adjacent to these are several reserved lots, which I might perhaps be allowed to remark would be admirably adapted to the purpose from their situation, should it be determined to build a large government house from the residence of the Crown Commissioner and for a parsonage should the original intention of appropriating one to that purpose be carried out. The present residence of Crown Commissioner being close to shore might be advantageously converted into a custom house and residence for the receiver of customs. Although, as I have said, the present circumstance of Inagua require that the staple commodity of the place should be the paramount and more immediate object in every undertaking. Still, it is by no means the only resource of this favored island. For when it is taken into consideration that it is situated in a latitude where the most luxuriant vegetation in the world is to be found, and that it poses large tracts of rich prairie ground and more hilly country towards the east, where miles of the best possible land for agriculture pursuits is found, and to which the proposed railroad would approach within 2 miles, and that the close at hand there are two such good fertilizers of land as lime and salt, it becomes clearly evident that it only needs a population who would take advantage of its resources to render it very garden for productiveness. Mm-mm-mm. Amongst the resources of Inagua ought to be mentioned the cattle, horses, pigs, and goats that at present roam wild and little sought after over the savanna that occupies the center of the island, and which might be with little trouble caught for food or labor. I have visited the savannah and saw about 20 head of cattle, which had been turned out there to graze, and they were in excellent condition. And I have been assured that the better beef can nowhere be met than that produced wild in this country. I believe, judging from what I observed, that there could be no exaggeration in saying that 50,000 head of cattle might be pastured on grass covering this extensive tract of land. Now, you tell me, if you look at those small islands where it looked like you are able to see 50,000 head of cattle, this is where you know Florida was Bahamas, was Jamaica, was Cuba, everything was connected. That's the Pangea. That's the place. Again, Martin and all of them took in botanic in their civil engineering and documents say that there was over 300 different species. What is it, 300 or 3,000 in the land of the Baja? Now, you mean to tell me this man back then, when the lands was connected, was able to see 50,000 head of cattle on those little tiny islands? That's more cattle than people, ain't it? I believe, judging from what I observe, there could be no exaggeration in saying that 50,000 head of cattle might be pastured on the grass covering the extensive tract of land, and if least it could find ready tenants to yield good revenue to the government. There's also some valuable woods found. There's also some valuable woods found on the island, some of which was sold for $40 a ton. I visited Man of War Bay and walked thence to the savannah, and find that if a barrier to prevent the incursions of the wild cattle were erected at this part, it might be carried in a straight line from Man of War Bay to Lake Rosa, a distance of about 3 miles, and it would only enclose about 3 miles by 4 miles in extent of prairie ground covered at present with grass a foot high. This would afford ample pasturage for at least 5,000 head of cattle besides sheep. Ampersand C. On the savanna, there were many ridges and clumps of trees, and making of these, a worm fence might easily be constructed, or if a stone wall were more desirable, there are many spots in the direct route covered with stone which might be used for the purpose. The advantage of this land, so protected to the well-being of Inagua, is incalculable, for cattle might be turned out there in perfect safety. And I noticed several large natural reservoirs in the rock full of rain water, which would ensure a supply for the cattle. At present, food is very dear, often scarce, but with such pasturage as this wall would secure, there need never be any scarcity of animal food. It perhaps may be worth the attention of the government whether a settlement located in this part of the island would not greatly tend to the development and resources of Inagua. The settlers to look after the cattle and cultivate the ground, living themselves independent of salt ponds, provide a regular supply for the market of Matthewtown of beef, fruit, vegetables, corn, ambersand seed, etc. Man of War Bay, as its name denotes, is capable of floating large ships, the water being deep enough in some parts close to the rocky shore for vessels of large size to come up. It may be premature even to hint that such an idea, but it would be so perfectly feasible to construct a large shipping dock within this bay for the protection and repair of steamers and other vessels, that I cannot refrain from just mentioning the possibility of Inagua possessing at some future day, as its prosperity increases, a public work of such importance to the colony, and one that would so convincingly prove the value of geographical positioning. Fortune Island or Long Cay. The public works on this island requiring more immediate attention are the prison, the site for which has been chosen to such an inconvenient distance from Albertstown that I had not advertised for tenders in the hope, if possible, it may be changed to a situation of greater security. The spot the spot at present fixed on is at some distance beyond the side of the pond opposite to the town. And they say it would be difficult to convey prisoners to such a distance and insecure for the jailer on account of loneliness of the place. The more desirable situation would be near the present lockup house between the pond and the sea. The salt ponds at Albertstown Pond, the canal requires repair, and the walls of the new portion to be raised 2 feet higher with a good abutment at the outlet to protect sluice gate and the walls. Oh, goodness, they just had a lot going on. And the walls be well, hold up. and the walls be well cemented on the inside and outside. The public road across the pond requires to be raised 2 feet higher to prevent its being overflowed, as it now is wet in wet weather, and several roads crossing and lead to the pans should be supplied with trunks to conduct rainwater to the sea. Allen's Pond. There is a tolerably good inlet in this pond, but it requires better outlet, properly constructed and protected to run off the rainwater quickly, and a dam is needed across the pond to protect the cultivated portion. Conch Divers Pond Canal requires a floodgate to be raised and a breastwork formed to protect it. Winter Pond is not yet under cultivation. Some of the pans in the different ponds of the island are in excellent order. Divine service is held in the schoolhouse, which is in want of a new roof. The foundation of a church much larger than required is commenced and abandoned some time ago. The burial ground is unenclosed. A building for the Crown Commissioner's office is much wanted. Long Island. The works on this island require attention and repair. The road from Chancery Pond, instead of repairing this road, I would advise that a canal be cut to the sea from the pond, which would serve double purpose of letting out rainwater and conveying the salt at cheaper rate. The road is very steep and rough and would cost to be properly repaired. As much as making of new road and annual expense of keeping it up would be considerable. This island has to contend with an unusual difficulty from its formation, which is more hilly than generality of salt islands. That's all I'm going to read for right now. I just had a thought come. Greater light. And I appreciate anybody that came by. Mind's eye, greater light. King Ellis, I appreciate you every single time. Latrell Tinwell, greater light. I appreciate your presence. As a matter of fact, I might just break this off for a second and keep it running. That's what I'm going to do. Let my music play for a minute. Because I really don't want to stop reading, but something just came up. Let me make sure I got this on mute.
Rise up, come, let your light shine bright. Reuben, rise up, come, stand up in your might. Gavin, rise up, come, be strong and take flight. Asher, rise up, come, in wisdom's pure light. Rise up, tribes of old, in ancients, let the future unfold. Naphtali, rise up, come swift as the deer. Manasseh, rise up, come let go of your fear. Simeon, rise up, come let your voice be clear. Levi, rise up, come holiness draw near. Rise up, tribes of old. In unity, let the story be told. Rise up, in courage be bold. In the spirit of the ancients, let the future unfold. Judah, rise up, come let your light shine bright. Reuben, rise up, come stand up in your might. Gad, rise up, come be strong and take flight. Asher, rise up, come in wisdom's pure light. Rise up, tribes of old. In unity, let the story be told. Rise up, in courage be bold. In the spirit of the ancients, let the future unfold. Naphtali, rise up, come swift as a deer. Manasseh, rise up, come let go of your fear. Simeon, rise up, come let true love so light. Agi, rise up, come let go of your fear. Rise up, tribes of old. In unity, let the story be told. Rise up, in courage be bold. In the spirit of the ancients, let the future unfold. Issachar, rise up, come in knowledge you trust. Zebulun, rise up, come be fair and be just. Joseph, rise up, come in dreams you adjust. Benjamin, rise up, come in God is your trust. Rise up, tribes of old. It's silver soul. Judah, rise up, come let your light shine bright. Reuben, rise up, come stand up in your might. Gad, rise up, come be strong and take flight. Asher, rise up, come in wisdom's pure light. Rise up, tribes of old. In unity, let the story be told. Rise up, in courage be bold. In the spirit of the ancients, let the future unfold. Naphtali, rise up, come swift as a deer. Manasseh, rise up, come let go of your fear. Simeon, rise up, come let your voice be clear. Levi, rise up, come holiness draw near. Rise up, tribes of old. In unity, let the story be told. Rise up, in courage be bold. In the spirit of the ancients, let the future unfold. Judah, rise up, come let your light shine bright. Reuben, rise up, come stand up in your might. Gad, rise up, come be strong and take flight. Asher, rise up, come in wisdom's pure light. Rise up, tribes of old. In unity, let the story be told. Rise up, in courage be bold. In the spirit of the ancients, let the future unfold. Naphtali, rise up, come swift as a deer. Manasseh, rise up, come let go of your fear. Simeon, rise up, come let true love so light. foggy. Rise up, come let go of your fear. Rise up, rise up.